Well, yeah, I'd love to entertain any questions or have people bring up any topics that they'd like to discuss.
Well, I will say I'm completely mind blown. Okay. I came in through a kind of, some channels going to different sessions that led me to what you all are doing. And I just was completely transfixed. I could not stop. I thought I had to finish the session sooner than I did, so I really pushed through it. So I'm actually rereading now the material because there was so much, but it was so just fascinating and mind blowing. I'm an academic, but my doctorate's in texts and technology, and it's kind of like a very interdisciplinary field. I'm not really so much from the tech side, but I'm really interested in the theoretical and philosophical, and my primary interest is humane technology. So that's kind of what led me here. So I'm just so thrilled and excited about what you all have been developing and working on for this time, and I'm really excited to be a part of it now. So I really appreciate you. I know I really bugged you a lot because I was thinking I had to finish sooner than I did, but I'm really grateful for you working with me and allowing me to share this space with you all.
Absolutely. And I totally appreciate you sending me all those screenshots. It's so much easier to debug these things. And that's interesting. So you came through one of these humane technology.
It was a Sand did a workshop on like ethical AI, and then somebody shared a bunch of links, and one of them somehow led me to this group, and then they were talking about the Noosphere, which I wasn't familiar with. So that really I did a deep dive because that really just inspired me. And so yeah, one thing led to another, and then of course I jumped in. I made it to the third session, so then I watched the last first and second one like in the same day because it was just so intriguing and just really was very excited about what you all are doing. And I'm a professor. I do actually mostly gender studies, but I do specialize in gender and technology. So there's a lot of ways that it links to my work. But I'm really interested in critical AI literacy, with sharing, teaching students how to be critical AI users, and also ethical technology, and, using humane technology, and just finding the ways to, do this better. And that's what is so exciting about the Metaweb to me, is that potential to do that, because I couldn't imagine how we could do this, and now I can imagine. It's really neat to see it, and so much that you all have already developed is just it's brilliant.
Leandra, you are a breath of fresh air for our group, and we welcome you with open arms. I
Well,
am
thank
glad
you
that
so much.
it has moved you, and I'm glad wherever you are, and even if we're further along, you jumped in, did the retro, got caught up, and now have intent to read it again and digest it at a deeper level. I was speaking with Dr. Suzanne Sinkavage yesterday, and she's reading the book for the third time,
Oh,
and
wow.
it's not because it's a slower adoption. She wants to absorb all of it in a way that we could be very fluent in our recommendations and the next steps that we take in terms of design and collaboration. It's just that packed with so much.
It really is, absolutely. It's very, there's a lot of concrete. It's not just, theorizing about it and philosophizing. It's a really concrete solutions, and, put ideas that we can apply. That is what makes it really exciting.
I
David really is, I'd say, over the top, not only over the web, but, he writes, even though it would appear when you first go through, it's easy to understand, but truly the layers penetrate so deeply. And when, you start absorbing all of the applications that this can be attributed to, your every single branch of the tree of life, just in every single connected root system, you think of all different ways it's connected and how we are connected. And it's actually version 2 will be hard to top. It will. I am working on version 2 to help David and Dee along, and for, what has changed since the book came out. And it's just so many possibilities. I mean, the properties could literally be a book unto itself, the desirable properties.
which
So,
I think it will be, Suzanne. I think it
Oh,
will be.
yeah.
Having said that, Suzanne, I want to make certain that everybody that's hearing this recording, seeing it, understands that even though there's a few of us committed to contributing to the next version of the book, that all are open to contributing, no matter whether you're a Metaweb pioneer cohort 1 or you're a casual visitor to our guild. I really would like more voices to help shape the next version. David, did I take too much away from what you were going to say?
No, not at all. Absolutely. I'm loving what I'm hearing, and I do want to make it clear that the ideas in the book are not solely mine, and that many of the ideas, predated even the internet, because like Teilhard de Chardin and Douglas Engelbart and Ted Nelson, a lot of these ideas that we're bringing together in the meta layer were already thought of. And in addition to that, the meta layer itself really just wants to connect all these other protocols and open source libraries and things that have proved so useful within silos, and enable them to basically have a reach over the entire web in a layer. So it's exciting hearing you all say that. And yeah, this next version of the book is going to be super fire, because there's, all these, so many more voices, and we've learned so much, and we now have a platform that we can write it collaboratively. And then the other thing I do want to mention is that I just put a link in the chat for the book on the desirable properties of a meta layer. And there's also a new website as well for the desirable properties. This is for essentially the next stage of this process, is for us to essentially deliver on the challenge that Vince Cerf gave us on September 16th, 2024, when he said, hey, if you really want to make this meta layer thing come true, then you're going to need to define what it is. And the way I think that you should do this is by putting out a essay on the desirable properties of a meta layer. And we've been working on that ever since. These last two links are the current state of play with respect to the desirable properties. And we're launching on July 21st the Desirable Properties Challenge, or the DP Challenge. And it's basically to put a human layer on this book that I just linked to, this Desirable Properties of a Meta Layer book. It's a compilation of information from 2 calls for input, plus a bunch of conversations, plus ideas about how to implement that we've been working through with Canopy and other sources. It's been synthesized by ChatGPT 5.5, and now we need to go back over it and really make sure that it's human centered, and make sure that it's doing all the things that we want it to do. And so the Desirable Property Challenge is the process for us to get your input on this. And at the moment, we would love for all of you to take a look at the desirable properties, figure out which ones that you're very interested in, and then join a work group. Now, when you join a work group or decide to co-lead a work group, which you can nominate yourself or someone else to do, you're essentially saying that you're going to help steward that particular desirable property. So it could be federated authentication and accountability. You're saying, well, we're going to be getting a bunch of suggestions and comments and revision requests for that particular chapter during the DP challenge. You, as a work group member, will help coalesce that into the final chapter that goes into the version 1 of the book, which will be released on the 2-year anniversary of Vince Cerf's challenge, which will be September 16th, 2026, when we have our Meta Layer Summit.
Well said. That was a lot. May I just add that not to leave one of our big intentions in putting the Metaweb course out there in the format that you all have experienced now is that we wanted to get a group of people at a level where they can be very conversational about what we're doing. And the book is a great foundation for anyone wanting to get involved. It is written so that many different contributors can come and have takeaways and personal actions that they take. But for us as a guild, that is our reference starting point. And it is a starting point because, as David said, we've learned so much since. There's so many thoughts that have gone into it, and we need additional thought leaders to take it to the next level. So beyond what we're doing here, socializing it sort of horizontally with your peers and getting them, now that you've read it, it's like a bestseller. Go and grab 20 of your friends and say, you got to read this book. That's how you're going to expand the knowledge and then expand all of this great thinking around what we're doing, as well as adding some depth to the design implications that we're all experiencing and suggesting as we are learners in this whole process. So we're the social experiment, you guys. There were days when I would ping David and say, I wish I had a catch me up button here because I'm not reading things consistently. And you know what? There's a catch me up page, and that's helped. That's helped sort of navigate me backwards and truly catch me up into, okay, these are some areas that I was soft in and I need to get back in. So gosh, if that was what's available, not only for the book, but for my normal life, to have a catch me up area, that would accelerate everything in my life. So
Catch me up, Asian.
catch me up.
I want to presence something that happened earlier today. I got a WhatsApp message and invited to an event that we're co-sponsoring. Not an invitation, I already knew about it. But Renard contacted me and I jumped on a event that we were co-sponsoring with Brave Voices. It was a side event for I think it was AI for Good, or probably the global dialogue on AI governance. And it was an excellent event. There were a number of different people, young people from across the world, and I would like to invite Renard to speak a little bit about the event.
Well, first, thank you so much for David. He shared the opportunity for the side event. The side event was on the United Nations Global Dialogue on AI Governance, and I applied as an organization with Brave Voices. I shared with David the responses, and he was also coordinating it with me. And then Brave Voices is an organization which includes over 150 volunteers and more than 30 chapters operating worldwide by only youth, like age ranging from 14 years old to 22, trying to bring brave voices all over the world. And this side event specifically had three speakers. One of them was an AI researcher from India, and another one was a founder of Equality Bridge, which is an organization that's bridges about equality and that was about the importance of youth and future. And also we had Manuela, which is the founder of Share Ground Initiative and co-founding with me the whole initiative. So we speak about the importance of the role of AI, the role of youth in AI governance. Yeah,
it was definitely very inspiring to hear young people who are so tuned in and concerned about the future. Young people, you're going to need to take this on because you see what the adults in the room are doing now. They seem to be so obsessed with AI. And you know, AI is great, but we need to have a human-centered future, and that's only going to happen if we have a human-centered internet. And I said, we're not going to be able to throw away the internet we have, but we can build on top of it. And I'm excited to continue this partnership with Brave Voices and we're hoping that we're going to get some more people into the course. And that would be so exciting to have young people certified to go out there and talk about the MetaWeb and to start projects and to apply for funding, get funded to build things. That's what's exciting to me. Thank you so
So,
much, Renat, for including me.
so Renad, you're gonna have Brave Voices in cohort 2 for the MetaWeb pioneers, so we can get them a dedicated cohort. I think that would be wonderful to have the
Yeah.
voice, because now that we have this tremendous basis, we definitely need the young voices. And I'm already planning for you to be a guest speaker for the Internet Society Nevada presentations. I've got David as my first one in person, but all of it links back to our core work. So all of these different presentations that have applications in different sectors, I think is great, because we could inspire others through how they're connected. But at the core of it is our work on the MetaWeb. And I think that's where it would be brilliant to have a young voice like yours being the one saying, I'm the example of what we need to build for, and here are the thousands and thousands of other voices that need to be heard. This is great.
Well, that's really amazing. Also, the Brave Voices volunteers, some of them actually joined the course of cohort 1. And I was seeing on their comments that they were really inspired, that they were saying that we're learning new things at such a young age, because some of them don't have access like this to these opportunities. And they were also speaking about how this was a big opportunity for them to learn new things that they were interested in, but they didn't know how.
Fantastic.
That's lovely. Love to hear it. All right.
Hey, David, this is Bert in Hawaii.
Hey, Bert.
I'm sorry, but I gotta jump pretty soon. And Dee, when do you have David scheduled so that I don't overlap with your request to have him speak?
Well, he's coming here physically to Northern Nevada the week of the 19th of July. And we have a collaboration with IEEE Northern Nevada and the Society of Women Engineers plus Internet Society Nevada, putting on a special presentation on digital monuments, and that's going to have some relevance to our core work. So that was the attraction. It's on the 23rd of July, and we'll put a link into, if anybody wanted to, just keep up with that. We're happy to have you. I don't think we're streaming that one. It's a live kind of conversation, but we can make available some materials and a recap of that.
So
Yeah, it'd be
David,
great to film it.
So just
I'll send you something about the broadband hui. I'm thinking maybe the first convening on August 5th. I'll send you an invite, and then you can provide a high level of the the metal layer. I guess maybe for both of you, Dee and David, is there a timeline that you folks have either published or thought
yesterday.
about? Yesterday.
You're right. No,
I'm curious to see, what it is that you have as a kind of like major milestones that you want to meet over the course of the short term and maybe, a year down the road.
David, you want to speak to that? You had a 12-month plan, a roadmap.
Yeah, I just put out the one around the desirable property. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Let's see. This is on the desirable property site, which we just completed the other day. Actually, I guess maybe it was really yesterday. And we come here to the front page, go to challenge timeline, and it has our journey so far. So we start with the September 16, 2024, and this speaks to the first call for input, the second call for input. That's all done. I'm going to hide that for now. But here we are now, July 1st through the 20th, work group formation. So we're forming work groups for each of the desirable properties, and you can go to the GovHub to join one of these. And you see, so DP1 is federated authentication and accountability. And you've got 22 of these. So that's where we're at right now. We're wanting to get people to identify a specific desirable property that they want to work on, and they'll join the work group, or they'll nominate themselves or others to be co-leads of that group. And then On July 21st through August 30th, we're going to have this DP challenge, community review and patching meaning providing ideas for improving the text in specific ways. We will then, in September 1st through the 15th, we will be synthesizing that information. This is where a lot of the work of the work group will happen in terms of taking the corpus of information that people have submitted as changes or comments about the specific work group, the specific desirable property, and then coalescing that, synthesizing that into a coherent chapter. And on September 16th, we will be pushing forward with the desirable properties book and monument launch. This will be on the Meta Layer Summit. And after that, there's another work. Where is it? There's another timeline somewhere else. Where is
I
that?
think what Bert is looking for is a 1 year kind of horizon and what are major milestones. So for the desirable properties, the major milestone is September 16th when we can have the body of version 1 for DP, and then that will also conclude the work group inputs. But this longer timeline is what I thought Bert was looking for. So great.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
appreciate it. Thanks.
And so here's the
You want
longer.
to put a link to that, David, in the chat?
Yep, I will do that. And so just to recap, the longer timeline, we've got the beta launch of the first over web application, Canopy, which it's in a private beta being used with the Metaweb book course. We also have on September 26th, as I mentioned, we're going to be publishing it's now a book instead of an essay, so I'll change that. And then we're looking to do a worldwide launch of Canopy towards the end of the year. We will be experimenting through 2027 with operations within trusted execution environments. And then in 2028, we're going to be looking at how we can have quantum resistance or quantum secure environments. So that's at the high level where we're headed. And I will put the link to both of those timelines into the chat.
Yeah. And I think
Okay, thanks.
what we will be doing also is adding more interim milestones in there, because there's big monthly jumps, and I recognize that there will be some additional work that will be significant enough to call out between 2027 and 2028. So
yeah, 100%. And even, I guess we should probably mention that there's even a desirable properties about roadmap and timeline. So there is an input for all of us to there is an opportunity for all of us to have an input on that timeline and to work on it together through that specific desirable property. I think it's 16, 17, or 18.
So one of the things I want to note is that we're looking for those prototyping and piloting opportunities. So Bert, the opportunity to potentially have a course where we can prove a Canopy in your educational institution would be amazing, because that really will help us flesh out how we create that opportunity and then potentially take it campus wide.
Good. Dee, I'll give you a call later and we can chat.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Okay, I gotta run, folks. Thanks a lot.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Bert. Good to see you.
Bye.
All right.
David, we had some questions primed for today, just open questions. Is that something you want to go through?
Which ones in particular?
Just Q&A and
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Well, I see right here, we say, Renard says, would love to know more about the event. Are you speaking about the Meta Layer Summit, Renard?
Well, I'm speaking of both events, the Metal Layer Summit and event in Nevada.
Oh, okay. Dee, why don't you talk a little bit more about that?
Can we bring up the slide? I mean the flyer, David, is that something?
I think I can. Let me
Okay.
find it.
So I'm just taking advantage of David's visit to Northern Nevada. There's a couple things that he doesn't even know I've kind of primed. because while he's here, I want him to speak with some sub-communities, professional communities, so that they can understand how the meta layer actually fits in with all engineering disciplines. That's why I convened this Internet Society Nevada and IEEE, and we just acquired Society of Women Engineers. So I have an updated flyer here that actually combines all those professional organizations so they can hear a good example of how the meta layer might be applied, and specifically in digital monuments and the preservation of our shared heritage. Why that's important to Nevada is we have 28 sovereign Native Indian nations that are represented in my state, and I have a very good connection with the Native Indian department here from a state perspective, and I wanted to start having conversations about how the state is dealing with heritage and archiving. There's museums here where I live, museums and the state library and archives. And if they are not already involved with or worried about how they preserve information and artifacts in a meaningful way, not just, create a documentary and put it on the shelf and put a library reference to it, but to have it actively utilized in deep bridged research, I think is something I want to shed some light to. So that's one angle for Nevada, but it's also the professional communities that need to pay attention to our work, because every single engineering field should be looking at this at a more serious level. So that's the first one. So
Do people know what a digital monument is? Is that something that we should go over? Probably.
yeah, take a moment, David, to do that.
Okay. In my mind, a digital monument is a set of digital artifacts that work together to present a set of information that's connected and coherent, such that it provides a digital representation of an information ecosystem, a portion of an information ecosystem. And I'll give you an example. Actually, I'm going to show you an example. A couple examples. The first one I'm going to show you is the Metaweb book, which you all know about, I think, right? So this is, if we come, so we're going to go here and we'll come here, we'll log in. Actually, I'm already logged in somewhere else. Let me just do that. So we're logged in. I'm going to come over here to the course and then go into the vault. Okay, that's odd. 1 second. Why is that? All right, something odd is happening. Let me just go. All right. I'm going to show you a different one first, and there's obviously something I need to fix. So this right here is a representation of the book. So this is very similar to the Metaweb book in terms of the entire structure of it. And you see that it has live and on chain. And the idea here is that we move this to on chain, everything that's being pulled is being pulled from Bitcoin ordinals. These are permanent digital artifacts that will last for at least 100 years. So this is one of the most permanent ways to save information at the moment. And because we pointed this on chain, everything here is pulling from a digital artifact that will be there for hundreds, if not longer, hundreds of years, if not longer. And I also want to show you, so that's the book representation of it. But if we come here, this is also on the Desirable Properties site. And we've done something a little bit different. So we have, if you come to on-chain, you'll see that this is actually a work in progress. And I call it a SAT application because it's building on top of Bitcoin, and Bitcoin has this concept of a Satoshi or a SAT, and we use those as building blocks, which you can take a look here. So this is there's a learning tour about these applications or these digital monuments. This is a digital monument. It's fetching the information live from ordinals.com at the moment, and we can essentially come here and see, okay, well, there's 24 pieces of content that are going into this digital monument. It has 2 data sets. So far, there are no reinscriptions. I know you don't know what a reinscription is right now, but if you come to this page and you read this page, then you're going to learn about what reinscriptions are. In particular right here. And you can also find out more about how this particular digital monument or application is wired. You can find where we are in the process. So we've inscribed the first batch of DPs, then we did the second batch, then we did the third batch. We've done a number of different other aspects of this as well. And so you can see that there's a whole process to creating this monument, and we're only up to here so far. We're up to here. There's at least another seven or 8 things that will need to be done for this to be completed as a digital monument available forever on Bitcoin, or for the next 100 years or so on Bitcoin. And to be clear, this is not a cryptocurrency thing. This is an information storage thing. Bitcoin got a new information layer about 3 years ago called Ordinals. And the Bitcoin Ordinals protocol is what allows us to do this. It's nothing to do with cryptocurrency. It's just that we're using the Bitcoin chain to store monuments on it. Because why do we use Bitcoin? Because it's the thing that's going to last the longest that we know of right now. There's no other thing digitally that we know will last longer than Bitcoin. So we're taking advantage of that, and we're agnostic. There could be many other things too that come about in the future, and if there's something that's better to store things on, then we'll use that as well. But right now, we're building our digital monuments on Bitcoin Ordinals, and I invite you to go to the learning path and check that out. And you can also go to the SAT graph, which should be linked here as well. So the SAT graph, this actually shows how this monument is created. So you have a configuration SAT, you have a couple data sets, then you have scripts. So these scripts are essentially modules of code. Then you have a layout, and you have a couple images. Then you have sources of the contents, which are each of the different chapters. These are all digital artifacts, and they can have different states as well. So I invite you to learn more about digital artifacts through the desirableproperties.org site.
So in layman's terms, David, what does this give to humanity in terms of having these digital monuments? What does that mean for the average person?
There's a reality anchor now that we haven't quite completed this one, but once we complete this one, in my mind, it can be considered a reality anchor, because it's essentially pulling together a lot of information about our process with respect to the digital properties and making it forever accessible with one URL by anyone in the world for free for at least the next 100 years. So it's essentially putting something in place that we can all look at and reference, and then also add our comments and have conversations on top of, so that we better our understanding of it. And over time, we can actually use that commentary and the insights that are developed through that process to update the monument. So
it's an original source of truth for many, and then if there's interpretations on top of that, that's recorded separately but layered on it, so that people can see the original and then what they're contributing on top of it. Does that make sense?
That is correct. That is correct. And then beyond that, because you talked about both the original and then people layering more information on it. Beyond that, we can synthesize the information that people have created and then update the chapters in a way that we still preserve the same URL, but yet the information shown in the digital monument will reflect these updates. And at the same time, because this is what I call append only, we will be able to also look at any version along the way. So 10 years from now, there's going to be a new version of this digital monument, and someone will go to the same link. They'll see a different version, but they'll also be able to traverse through and see the previous versions as well and see what's changed.
And for the educators in the audience, I want you to think about the implications to institutional learning with this ability, because it's huge.
Yeah, and we're imagining, or I would love to apply this to tribes in Nevada and other places, and enable them to curate a set of information that they believe is what best reflects them. And at the same time, if we create this digital monument, they can also decide how they want to update it in the future. And there will be essentially a monument that reflects that particular tribe, their view of themselves, thereby being essentially a reality anchor as to who these people are, who they see themselves as.
I can see that happening across, many areas, and Africa comes to mind because there's so, there's tribal representation there as well. And I just think we know so little about the small tribes, and they don't have the resources to archive it or capture it in a way that, other countries or communities might. And this would be able to help them with that, because it's not just written work, but I mean, there's so many other artifacts that we can put in a monument. I think it's important to take a look at all that we are trying to preserve: language, culture, music, everything, images.
Yeah. And I would say that for music and video, this probably is not the right solution, but we can integrate multiple solutions so that we get our best intent.
Yes.
And I'll also say that there's indigenous people across the world. So this is everywhere. There are people whose histories have been erased or not captured. And so I think there's a huge opportunity to really help empower these communities to present their voice and their reflection of themselves.
Yeah. And then Renad's second question was about the summit, the DP summit. Can you describe that?
Yeah, well, I can say right now that some things that we want to do for sure. One is we want to release the Desirable Properties book. We also want to bring together people to talk about the state of the meta layer and the different aspects of the work that people are doing. I think it's important to note at this point that we are looking for not only partners in terms of organizations that would like to join us with respect to the summit, but also if there are any people who enjoy helping organize events, it would be great to start a conversation about that now. And you can reach out to me or Dee, and we can, we're beginning and Suzanne, we're all beginning these conversations now, but there's a real opportunity to help shape what this summit looks like. And we'd love to have brave voices there for sure. Right now,
would love to be there.
What's that?
I said I would love to be there.
Yeah. Right now, we're envisioning it as a hybrid event, virtual and physical. We haven't got a physical location yet, but would love to start having those conversations. If there's anyone, like I said, who's interested in helping out and maybe even being an event co-lead, please reach out to one of us. Mike. All right. Does anyone have any topics or things that they would like to bring up? Any reflections on the readings? Anything that they're not totally clear about or they'd like to talk about within this group? Layla, you mentioned that your mind, she just is coming back. I love it. Let's see. Let's get her back in here. She's joining. I'm going to ask her. And it looks like it's taking a little while for her to join. Not sure. Oh, there she is. Okay. Hi, Layla.
Sorry, I got kicked off. I had to travel with my phone to pick up my daughter, so now I'm back.
Awesome. I just about to ask you a question. I noticed that you were rejoining. I was wanting to hear or have asked you to elaborate a little bit on when you said your mind was blown. What are the things that are different now that you've read the book and worked through the exercises?
Wow. Okay. So just the way I can imagine using the internet to access information without having to go off, like let's say if I was thinking in terms of, okay, having ADHD, when I go off screen to go, let's say, follow up or do, check the credibility of something, I tend to get kind of lost in that other part of wherever I'm going. And it's harder for me to come back. So I really love the idea of having things contained on the one page where you can, hover over or, link to or see things that are laid out without having to actually go somewhere else, meaning off that screen necessarily. Or whereas with the, just a hyperlink, it will take you to another site. And then of course, you can go down the rabbit hole either way, but I feel like this format or the way that it's described, it seems more manageable in terms of having access to the information that you need to inform the focus of what you're doing, without having to go leave somewhere else or go into another digital room or whatever. I really like that idea. I also like the idea of having these types of things connected, like where, let's say, for example, even like on a restaurant page, as I was explaining this because I've been talking to people about it already, like, and I have a 12-year-old. I said, oh, the future internet, this meeting's about the future internet. It's really fascinating. Like that you all are going to have something so cool to, work with one day. And my example was if you have you're on a restaurant website, you can see the health reports, you can see reviews, you can see, even in that, very practical sense of the way that I could imagine everything you would need to inform a decision on that page being very accessible. And I really love that idea as well. I like the way that you can bring together different types of information to enhance the meaning or the significance of something, like that. It's like a layered text, but it makes it a much more, a more full kind of complete text when you have these layers that are also right there. It's really just a different way of almost like reading where you have different layers of things to look at. It's just it's neat way to think about it, both practically and like the possibilities are just really beyond imagination how much you can do with this kind of a format and setting and in every context online that you're thinking of, whether I'm talking about, doing academic research versus like something, very practical. Or I almost got scammed the other day, and one of the sections in the book was talking about the scams and how we can make the internet and these types of things more secure. And I had to do quite a bit to confirm I was going to be scammed or not, because I'm quite gullible. I really am. And I'm just like a, hopeful, optimistic in general. So I'm like, oh yeah, this is great. But I thought I better check and make sure. And it was a scam, and I would have, probably lost money. But I could imagine on the screen if I had the Metaweb, that the over web, I would have known that. It would have already been determined because so many other people have already been in this position I was in. And so, it was just as I'm engaging my daily regular tasks, I'm already imagining what it would look like and how it would function, in these different settings. So it's just, so that in that sense, the way you can apply it to so many different types of websites and pages and tasks, I thought that's what really blew my mind.
Wow, so well said. And I love the way you're coming at it, because it seems like there's at least two ways. There's one way where people are saying, well, what exactly are you saying about how this works? And how is this going to particularly work? How are you going to do that? And then there's the other way to look at it, like, well, what do I want to have in? And I'm realizing that there's so much potential in that I can help shape how it is. That latter approach is what we're wanting to ignite in people, because this is not something that's completed. We don't know everything right now, and there's this huge opportunity for us right now with this desirable properties work to say, well, what do we want? And it's not a technical thing at all. This is not a tech. I'm saying, well, what do we want from a non-technical standpoint? What would make your life easier? And I hear you, Layla, identifying some of those things, and really appreciate the perspective that you're taking.
And one other thing that I really appreciate is that it's individual and community driven more than like corporate driven in terms of how we're shaping it and informing one another. Is it's not all predetermined by the way this Microsoft set this thing up and now this is how we have to access the information, but that we contribute as individuals with our experiences, whether it's through the reviews or however we're interacting on this page, that reshapes it. And that's really cool too, that it's where we are reshaping it, not them, the people who are up here, that we feel like, well, we have to work with whatever we are given, whatever Microsoft decides that this page is going to provide, that's what I'm going to be able to work with. But with what the book is talking about, it's like, no, that's not the way. It's like we can contribute so much more that's informed by human needs and benefiting humanity rather than like the corporate interests, and I really like that there's more credibility, and because you're not so much thinking, well, why are they doing this, what are they getting out of me, what am I gonna, it's more like, well, my other individuals have experienced this and informed this in a way that shapes the way that I can interact with it. That's exciting too. And also to be able to contribute those things, it's like when you write a review for, you had a really bad experience and I get to write a review because I really want somebody to know that this is what happened to me when I went to this place in case it happens. And so we're all like really informing each other.
Yeah, absolutely. You touched on some really important things there. And it's interesting because I've been in this a while, right? At least 8 or 9 years in terms of the thinking and working on this. There have been a number of times when people say, well, who's supporting this work? And, for the most part, I say, well, it's pretty much people, right? It's not the big organizations, et cetera. In fact, we've had some disappointments in trying to actually work with some of the standards bodies, et cetera. And the thing to say is, when you're building something that's meant to be human centered and not corporate centered, it's often hard to get support for these things. And it means that it's going to really have to either get some philanthropists behind it, or people are going to have to steward it. And what we've said is, well, yeah, we're open to philanthropy and we're open to getting that type of support, but we're not going to stop and wait for it. And so this group of people, the people in the course, the people who've been in these conversations for almost a decade, some of them, they are in effect, we are in effect taking on a stewardship role at this point, because we recognize that this is something that's important for our future. And we can't rely upon Microsoft or Google or OpenAI or Anthropic or any of these other ones to necessarily keep us safe and make sure that we have the digital rights that we all deserve, or at least what I think we all deserve: transparency, privacy, data sovereignty, et cetera. I want all those things for all of us. And that the truth of the matter is, there's not going to be some benevolent, huge tech giant corporation that's going to come and say, oh yeah, let's build this, and we're going to build it, and we're going to keep your vision of it being completely human centered, et cetera. They're just not going to do it. So we're taking this other approach, and it's not necessarily the easy approach, right? But it is the one that gets us, at least directionally, towards this convergent consciousness that Teilhard de Chardin spoke of almost 100 years ago.
And there was somebody shared a link to the PBS documentary about him that I haven't watched yet, but I was looking forward to, about, what's it called? The Teilhard Visionary Scientist. It's like 2-hour documentary about him on PBS. So I was excited to watch that because I wasn't that familiar with him, but obviously he's, profound and influential. And I'm looking forward to that as well.
Definitely profound, not as influential as we would like, but that's what we're doing. Part of what we're doing. And also there's another organization called Human Energy, which is how I met Dee. Dee is an advisor there, and they're doing great work around research and education on the Noosphere. There was also a conference in China just recently called The Philosophy of AI, Noosphere, and Humanity that we participated in. So there is some movement in that direction, but yeah, let's make him more. Let's make Teilhard de Chardin more influential
Like
for
a
sure.
household name, David?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
So the work of human energy has been going on for more than a decade in the making, and there's some really deep rooted scholars that are putting their thoughts together on collective intelligence, and they're actually going through a synthesis of literature that actually looked at the basic building blocks of information, whether it's evolutionary or and related. So they are applying it to different kinds of things that we're going through now. And I'm excited because I'm listening to one of the conversations that they had last month and a half ago. And I'm just picking it up now, where they did some progressive work on how some of these concepts really apply to some of the social challenges that we have today, like RNA research, and how they actually break that down into what's happening with the information we're getting, how it's being applied to some social phenomena that's happening. And there's more work that's being done in terms of the conversations people are having about that in the academic world, and then trying to apply it to social phenomena. So it's interesting to watch their work, but in parallel, in a nutshell, they're trying to break things down into explainable concepts. And then we're doing the same things with just the elemental levels of desirable properties. So there's some parallels in what work they're working on and the work that we are. So at some point in the near future, I hope to bring both communities together to really have a synergistic conversation on how our work can converge much better with a better collaboration. So
yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to see that happen, and to the extent they may be interested in
Francis
participating.
Heiligen, David Sloan Wilson, Terry Deacon. These are guys that are pillars in their scholarly fields. So I hope that each one of them has a book this thick, and they totally process their areas, but they're all speaking the same language. It's really interesting.
Awesome. So I put the PBS documentary on Teilhard de Chardin in the chat. I'm going to check it out, and maybe if anyone else gets a chance to check it out, let us know what next week. Let us know what you took away from it. What was interesting? What stuck with you?
Yeah, that would be great.
Anyone have any other thoughts, comments, topics, things that they want to bring up? Questions? Okay.
So
Dee, you have anything?
What do we have in store for conversation for next week? Are we pivoting to DPs?
Yeah, I think next week we will focus at least part of the conversation. I think we can handle open topics and questions, but in addition to that, we will have a section on the desirable properties. We'll go over the set of desirable properties. We'll talk about the next steps in the desirable properties challenge and how you all can be involved with that. We'd love for you to take a look at the desirableproperties.org site. If you feel inclined at this point to go ahead and join a work group, that's lovely. Love your help in terms of nominating other people in the field who might have some kind of expertise to bring to bear on a specific desirable property, to invite them, to nominate them to participate in one of the work groups. That'll be amazing. So we'll be going over that and people's questions and any topics that come up.
I do have a request, David, and I think this might help many others who are, excited about participating, that maybe a good example for us to walk through one of the DPs together as a community will give us some framing and level of depth and get us exactly to what is going to be a beneficial contribution when we're going deeper into each one of the DPs, because I think an example would be superb.
Yeah, that's a great idea. We might even take a couple angles through that. But yeah, that's a great comment, and we will integrate that into next week's session for sure.
Yeah, I think that will be helpful because there are quite a few I looked over them that I was like, oh yes, this one. Oh yes, but then I'm wondering, well, is my interest going to translate? I mean, it's not just interest, it's also, I mean, some knowledge and experiences, but going to translate to being beneficial for, am I going to be helpful? And so I was a little hesitant to join something, not sure, am I going to be able to provide what somebody's looking for in this. And so I think it will be helpful to talk a little bit more about those in that way.
And I want to just comment on that, is that we want different thinkers, deep thinkers, to basically try and absorb it, but take it apart, because it needs to be, I'm going to say, bulletproof when we issue this as the first version, that we've had, just brilliant minds going through it and seeing how it applies to different scenarios, and do we have the right taxonomy and language to bring forth why this DP is unique from the others, because it might be that the recommendation from the work group is melt it with number 7, or maybe it needs to be 5, not 22, but the group needs to go through that whole process in great detail. So I wouldn't hold anything back, because and think that this is not fitting what we want. We want the comment I made was more in terms of, we don't want you to say it's nice or it's good. We want you to say, I would change this language to X because, and that's more meaningful to us, so that we could, kind of weave it through that cycle and make sure that it's the end result for this version will capture the essence of those contributions from many, many people, hopefully. But yeah, that's great that you already looked at it. That's perfect. Back to you, David.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, well, I'm just going here to the desirable properties. So there's so many of them, right? And Layla was mentioning that she saw several that she was interested in. I just want to be clear that if you are interested in a specific subject and you have some ideas around it, then you're going to be helpful to that work group. And you don't have to worry about whether you're technical or not, because this is not a technical exercise. This is more an exercise to identify what is going to be most useful and helpful for humanity with respect to digital rights and coordination, collaboration, etc. So I think that all of us, everybody on this line, on this call, probably has multiple areas of interest that align with one or more of these different DPs. And just, if there are several that you feel strongly about, then feel free to join those work groups. We're going to have 5 or 6 different people. We're going to have an AI as well, a community-based AI that will be very well set up to have conversations about the specific desirable property, as well as be very helpful in terms of synthesizing the information. So if you care about one of these areas, your voice is important. Any other thoughts, comments, reflections, questions that you may have? We have just a few more minutes, and we can stop now, but I do want to open it up. All right. I think we're in a good shape, in a good place. I would love to see you all in the Canopy book. If anyone wants to @ David, please feel free to do that. We've been working on the notifications, so if you do, I will see it and I will respond. Feel free to @ D, or anyone else. If you see something that they wrote, reply to it. Would love to see how we can have conversations above the webpage together.
Great. Thank you again.
All right, everyone, you want to open up
Thank
your
you.
mics and say bye? Yeah.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thanks,
guys.
everyone.